Deep in the English countryside, nestled among rolling hills and whispering forests, lies Howlett's Wild Animal Park. This is not your typical zoo, but a sanctuary. It's here we meet Tansy Aspinall. Her father, Damien, a renowned conservationist, has dedicated his life to these animals. Among the many animals she befriended, two held a special place in her heart. Two gorillas named Djalta and Bimms. Djalta, the elder, was a gentle giant. Bimms, full of youthful energy, was her playmate. Their bond, though unusual, was undeniable. Damien documented their interactions, believing these moments held a deeper message, one of coexistence and respect for the natural world. On her 5th birthday, Tansy received a special gift from her father, a necklace with a gorilla pendant. It symbolized the unique bond she shared with these animals and her role as a bridge between two worlds. As she grew older, a bittersweet reality began to dawn. Her father's mission extended beyond rehabilitation. The ultimate goal was always to return these animals to their rightful home, the wild. Tansy's days were filled with adventure and wonder. The sprawling grounds of Howlett's became her enchanted forest, and Djalta and Bimms, her constant companions. They would spend hours together, their laughter echoing through the trees. Sometimes they would sit quietly by the edge of the water, Tansy sharing stories of her day. Djalta, with his calm demeanour, would often let Tansy groom him. Bimms, always the playful one, preferred their wrestling matches. Through these interactions, Tansy developed a profound understanding of the gorillas. She learned to read their moods, to understand their subtle gestures. Damien watched their bond flourish with a mixture of pride and awe. He began to share their story with visitors to the park, using their bond as a testament to the power of compassion and understanding. Tansy embraced her father's mission, becoming an ambassador for the animals she loved. She would often accompany him during talks, sharing her experiences with a quiet confidence that belied her age. As the years passed, a bittersweet truth settled over Tansy. She knew that her time with Djalta and Bimms was finite. Her father had always emphasized that the gorilla's true home was in the wild. She overheard snippets of conversations about finding a suitable habitat and the logistics of transporting the gorillas safely. One evening, her father explained that the time had come to prepare Djalta and Bimms for their return to the wild. Tears welled up in Tansy's eyes as her father spoke. She tried to be brave, to understand that this was for the best. Damien held her close, comforting her as she cried. He promised her that this wasn't the end, that they would always be connected to Djalta and Bimms. With a heavy heart, Tansy accepted her father's words. She vowed to honour their bond by dedicating her life to the protection of gorillas and their fragile habitat. The air at Howlett's was thick with a mix of excitement and sadness. The team prepared for Djalta and Bimms' journey. For Tansy, the days leading up to their departure were a blur of bittersweet moments. She spent every waking hour by their side, sharing stories, laughter and silent goodbyes. Damien explained the importance of their mission, how Djalta and Bimms would play a vital role in repopulating their species in the wild. He reminded her that this wasn't goodbye, but a new chapter in their story. The day of their departure dawned bright and clear. Tansy stood by the transport trucks, her heart pounding in her chest. She watched as Djalta and Bimms were carefully loaded. As the trucks pulled away, Tansy fought back tears. Damien wrapped his arms around her, promising that one day they would visit Djalta and Bimms together in their natural habitat. Life at Howlett's continued, but it wasn't the same without Djalta and Bimms. Driven by a powerful mix of love, loss and a deep sense of purpose, Tansy immersed herself in her studies. She devoured books about wildlife conservation and animal behavior. She became a familiar face at the park's education center, teaching visitors about the importance of protecting wildlife. Her passion resonated with people, inspiring them with her knowledge and dedication to her father's mission. As Tansy blossomed into a young woman, so did her determination to honor the promise she made to Djalta and Bimms. She yearned to see Djalta and Bimms again, to witness firsthand their lives in their natural habitat. With each passing year, Tansy's resolve grew stronger. She knew that the journey ahead would be challenging, but the thought of seeing her old friends again fueled her determination. The time had come for Tansy to embark on her own adventure, to follow in her father's footsteps. Years turned into a decade. Tansy blossomed into a bright young woman, her childhood bond with Djalta and Bimms etched deep within her heart. She pursued her education with a fervour, diving deep into the world of zoology and conservation. Her father, Damien, watched with pride as his daughter blossomed. Tansy's childhood bond with Djalta and Bimms had become a beacon, guiding her steps. One evening, while reminiscing over old photographs, Damien's words from years ago echoed in Tansy's mind. "One day, when you're older, we'll visit them together." The promise, once a distant hope, now resonated with a newfound urgency. Tansy, with Damien's unwavering support, would embark on an expedition to the dense jungles of Gabon. The journey ahead would be long and arduous, the outcome uncertain. But for Tansy, the possibility of seeing her old friends again outweighed any risk or challenge. The air buzzed with anticipation as Tansy and her team prepared for their departure. Joining Tansy were experienced trackers, researchers and filmmakers, each driven by a shared passion for conservation. As the plane lifted off the runway, Tansy couldn't help but feel a surge of emotion. She was finally on her way to reunite with Djalta and Bimms. With each passing mile, Tansy felt a growing connection to the land, to the wild heart of Africa. Landing in the heart of Gabon, the air thick with humidity and the sounds of the rainforest, Tansy felt a wave of emotion wash over her. The team established their base camp on the edge of the rainforest. Days turned into weeks as they trekked through dense vegetation, navigated winding rivers and followed the whispers of the forest. Each rustle of leaves, each distant call of a bird sent a jolt of anticipation through her. What if they couldn't find them? What if, after all this time, Djalta and Bimms were gone? The rainforest hummed with life, a symphony of sounds both familiar and strange. Tansy pushed aside her doubts, clinging to the belief that Djalta and Bimms were out there. The trackers followed every broken twig, every disturbed patch of earth, every whisper of movement in the undergrowth. One evening, a sense of excitement rippled through the camp. The trackers had picked up a promising lead, a series of fresh gorilla nests high in the canopy. The rainforest floor was a treacherous maze of tangled roots, fallen logs and slippery slopes. Tansy moved with a newfound determination, her senses heightened. The trackers, their movements fluid and silent, led the way. Tansy, eager to prove herself, followed closely, her heart pounding with anticipation. And then she heard it, a low, guttural rumble, barely audible above the rustling leaves. It was a sound she hadn't heard in over a decade, the distinct vocalization of a silverback gorilla. The trackers exchanged knowing glances, their faces betraying nothing but a heightened sense of alertness. They moved forward cautiously, their every sense attuned to the slightest movement, the slightest sound. Tansy followed close behind, her heart pounding in her chest, her breath catching in her throat. The forest opened up, revealing a small clearing bathed in dappled sunlight. And there, in the middle of the clearing, stood a group of gorillas. They were magnificent creatures, their massive forms both intimidating and awe-inspiring. Tansy's eyes darted from one gorilla to another, searching for a familiar face, a flicker of recognition. Her gaze fell upon a silverback, his massive form dwarfing the others. He stood with an air of quiet authority, his dark eyes surveying the clearing with a calm intensity. Time seemed to stand still as Tansy stared at the silverback. Could it be him? Could this be Djalta, her childhood companion, now a powerful leader in his own right? The silverback took a step forward, his massive frame moving with surprising grace. Tansy held her breath, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew that gorillas were wild animals, capable of unpredictable behavior. But deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was different, that there was something special, something magical about this moment. The silverback stopped just a few feet away from her. He raised his head, his nostrils flaring as he took in her scent. Tansy met his gaze, her own eyes filled with a mixture of fear, awe, and a flicker of hope. And then, slowly, deliberately, the silverback extended his hand. It was a gesture of peace, a sign of recognition. Tansy stared at his outstretched hand, her mind racing. Could it be possible? Did he remember her after all these years? Time seemed to stop. The air hung heavy with anticipation. The hand of the massive silverback remained outstretched, an invitation impossible to resist. Tansy's heart pounded against her ribs, a drumbeat echoing the wild rhythm of the jungle around her. Memories flooded her mind, playful chases through the grass at Howlett's, gentle grooming sessions with Djalta, the echoing sound of their laughter. Could this really be him? Could this powerful silverback be the same gentle giant who had shared her childhood? Taking a deep breath, Tansy slowly extended her own hand. Her fingers trembled slightly as they met his, rough, leathery, incredibly strong. A jolt of warmth seemed to pass between them, a current of recognition that transcended years of separation and the vast gulf between their species. The silverback held her gaze, his dark eyes surprisingly gentle. There was a depth of intelligence there, a sense of knowing that sent shivers down her spine. For a moment the world around them faded away, the dense rainforest, the watchful eyes of the expedition team, the years of separation, all forgotten in the face of this extraordinary reunion. A low rumble emanated from the silverback's chest, a sound that sent a wave of relief through Tansy. It wasn't a growl, not a threat, but a sound of contentment, of recognition. Tears welled up in her eyes, blurring her vision. She had come so far, faced so many uncertainties, and now, finally, she was home. As if sensing her emotions, the silverback slowly lowered his head. Tansy instinctively leaned forward, resting her forehead against his. His fur was thick and coarse, smelling of earth and leaves, the scent of the wild. She closed her eyes, overwhelmed by a wave of emotion, joy, relief, gratitude, and a deep, abiding love for this magnificent creature. The moment stretched on, a timeless embrace in the heart of the rainforest. The expedition team watched in stunned silence, their cameras clicking softly, capturing every second of this extraordinary reunion. They had witnessed countless wonders in the wild, but nothing could have prepared them for the raw emotion of this moment. Tansy felt a gentle pat on her back, the silverback's way of reassuring her, of comforting her. She couldn't hold back her tears any longer. They streamed down her face, hot and wet against the silverback's fur. But these weren't tears of sadness, not anymore. They were tears of joy, of a bond reaffirmed, a promise kept. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows through the rainforest, Tansy knew it was time to give Djalta and his family space. She stepped back reluctantly, her hand lingering on the silverback's arm. He watched her with knowing eyes, a low rumble emanating from his chest. She spent the next few days observing Djalta and his family from a respectful distance. Djalta, now a powerful silverback, guided his family with quiet strength. She watched as he interacted with the other gorillas. His every movement exuded calm authority. She saw glimpses of the gorilla she once knew, the gentle way he interacted with the younger gorillas. There was a new depth to him now, a maturity that came with age. He was a king in his own domain, a guardian of his species, a symbol of the wild beauty her father had dedicated his life to protecting. As she watched Djalta and his family thrive in their natural habitat, Tansy felt a renewed sense of purpose wash over her. This wasn't just about reuniting with her childhood companions, it was about honouring her father's legacy, about ensuring the survival of these magnificent creatures for generations to come. The time came for Tansy and the expedition team to return to the world beyond the rainforest. As they packed their gear and prepared for the long journey home, Tansy couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. She had found Djalta, reaffirmed their bond, and witnessed the incredible success of her father's conservation efforts. But leaving him behind, knowing she might never see him again, was heartbreaking. As she boarded the plane, Tansy made a silent promise to Djalta, to her father, and to herself. She would honour their memory by dedicating her life to protecting gorillas and their fragile habitat. She would use her voice to raise awareness, to inspire others to join the fight for conservation, to ensure that future generations would have the privilege of experiencing the awe-inspiring beauty of these gentle giants in the wild. The reunion with Djalta was more than just a personal triumph. It was a powerful reminder of the unbreakable bond between humans and the natural world. It was a story of hope, of resilience, and of the incredible things that can be achieved when we embrace our responsibility to protect our planet and all its inhabitants. The rainforest had worked its magic on Tansy. The sights, the sounds, the very air she breathed had awakened something deep within her. She returned from Gabon not just as a conservationist, but as a storyteller, her heart overflowing with the profound experience of reuniting with Djalta. She travelled the world, sharing her story with anyone who would listen. From classrooms to conference halls, she spoke with passion and conviction, her words painting vivid pictures of the rainforest, of Djalta and his family, of the delicate balance of nature that we as humans have a responsibility to protect. Her story resonated with people from all walks of life. She reminded them of the power of connection, the importance of empathy and the incredible resilience of the natural world. Her message was clear. Conservation wasn't just about saving animals, it was about saving ourselves. Tansy's story became a beacon of hope, demonstrating that even small actions can have a ripple effect. Inspired by her journey, people around the world rallied to the cause. Donations poured in, supporting conservation efforts in Gabon and beyond. Volunteers signed up, eager to dedicate their time and energy to protecting endangered species. Schools incorporated Tansy's story into their curriculum, teaching children about the importance of conservation and the interconnectedness of all living things. A new generation grew up with Djalta and Tansy's story etched in their hearts, a reminder that even in the face of daunting challenges, hope and determination can prevail. The impact of Tansy's journey extended far beyond the borders of Gabon. Her story served as a powerful reminder that we are all connected, that the fate of wild animals and the fate of humanity are inextricably intertwined. Years later, Tansy stood at the edge of the rainforest once more. This time she wasn't alone. She was joined by her own children, their eyes wide with wonder. They interacted with local guides, absorbing the sights and sounds. She had kept her promise to Djalta and her father. She dedicated her life to future generations experiencing the rainforest, to stand in awe of its beauty and share the planet with magnificent creatures. The rainforest now represented hope and renewal, a testament to the power of connection and conservation. The story of Tansy and Djalta serves as a beacon of hope, reminding us that the future of our planet rests in our hands. The time to act is now. Let's be the guardians of the future.